For you hot dogs that have been listening to RTG for a while now, you may remember that back in the early days of the show, I talked about how we were just a little weed in the gaming podcast garden and we kept growing and growing. And I never would have imagined we'd become the full-on infestation that the podcast has become now. If you've ever dreamed of running your own business, all you have to do is plant that little seed and start watering, and you can surprise yourself. And I know, it can seem very overwhelming at first. You need a website, a logo, you need to figure out how to advertise your business, how to accept payments when you make sales. It's a lot, but thankfully that's where our sponsor Shopify comes in. Shopify is the commerce platform of choice for millions of businesses around the world, from the little startups to behemoths like Mattel and Gymshark. 10% of all e-commerce in the US uses Shopify. You can use Shopify to make a website. They can help you write descriptions and enhance your product photos for that website. They offer super easy to run email and social media campaigns, so your advertising is covered. They're like the greatest employee of the month of all time. And if you get stuck along the way, they're there to help with their award-winning 24/7 customer service. Turn those dreams into and give them the best shot at success with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/RTG. Go to shopify.com/RTG. Shopify.com/RTG. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Remember the Game. It is my retro gaming podcast where every week a buddy of mine and I sit down and we geek out about the games we played back in the day. My name is Adam Blank. Thank you so much for listening to the show. And this week it is episode 352, and it is the second of hopefully 3 straight scary episodes with the somewhat anticipated Resident Evil Remake episode. Remake, if you spell it properly, capital R-E-Make. I have been wanting to play and review this game for years now. I've been talking about it forever. I tried it back in the GameCube era after I played Resident Evil 4, which was my first Resident Evil. And admittedly, back then, I was used to the more action-paced Resident Evil 4, and the slow pace and tank controls of Resident Evil Remake left me kind of But since then, I've played most of the mainline Resident Evil games. I'm a pretty big fan of the series now, and everyone kept telling me, buddy, Resident Evil Remake, you gotta play it. And god damn it, you were all right. I have not played the original Resident Evil in years. I did want to do a replay of it before this review, just to compare what was the same and what was different, but I played 3 Resident Evils in like 2 weeks. I kind of ran out of time. But I played the piss out of this remake. I haven't played the OG in years, but this one, I was on a flight to Toronto and back, and like all I did the whole flight both ways was play this game. And then when I got home, I couldn't stop playing it, and it is every bit as good as Resident Evil fans say it is. It is a top tier Resident Evil game. Is it the best Resident Evil game? You'll have to listen and find out, but it is very, very, very good. It's almost 25 years old, and I would argue that it is still doing remake better than a lot of remakes today are doing them. It's that good. I will warn you as well, we are going to spoil some stuff. So just if you've not played Resident Evil yet by some chance, and you don't want to spoil for you, pause this, go play it. I promise you it's worth... I can't promise it's worth your time, but it's probably worth your time. It's pretty good. And then come back and listen to this. My guest this week is our resident horror junkie, as well as our delightful Game Boy fan, my buddy Patrick. And I hope you feel that we did Resident Evil Remake justice after listening to this episode. We don't know everything there is to know about Resident Evil. Absolutely we don't. But we know what we hate. And we do not hate Remake. And we're going to get to that in just a minute, because speaking of stuff people hate, it's time for another edition of the Remember the Game infamous intro. Dun, 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 dun! And if you're new to the podcast, welcome aboard. Consider this your morning. Our intros are a little long. They're not that long, but they're a little long. And they're fun. They're good times. We talk video games and stuff. It's good. And you can stop these and save your progress at any time. No ink ribbons required. It's pretty awesome. Let me get my plugs out of the way. It's how I keep the bills on. Quick, first and foremost, the most important plug there is right now, Friday, November 7th, and Saturday, November 8th. Easy for me to say. Our 6th annual 24-hour extra live stream. I'll be playing video games 12 hours a day for 2 days to raise money for the Stollery. You can come hang out with me. It should be a good time. Donate $20 or more, be entered into a prize draws, and we'll be auctioning off a chance to be my guest on RTG in 2026. Pretty good fucking time. So I'll, come by and check it out. I'll post links and stuff on the website, the rememberthegamepodcast.com, leading into the stream, so you'll be able to find me. On the note, rememberthegamepodcast.com is also where you can find our merchandise. Shout out to my man Joe from 4545 Creative for designing all of it. And of course, the lifeblood of RTG is in fact our Patreon. We publish up to 4 additional ad-free shows over there every week. You also get access to Remember the Game every week without ads, including the 351 previous episodes of the show. It's a pretty great deal. Subscriptions start at just $3 a month. Not only do you get a ton of podcasts, but you can write into the show. You can vote on the games we cover. You can join our 1,000+ member Discord. It's pretty much the best deal in the history of the universe. And most importantly, you get a shout out and get to hear me mispronounce your name like I don't know if I'm going to do today or not. We'll see. But a huge thank you to our newest patrons, Glaze My Salmon, David Moore, Bashel, Mike Morbid, Benjamin Otel, Ness Paula, Jeff and Pooh, big fans, you guys, Luke Wood, and Legend of Windermere, patron of time. I don't know if that's an Edmonton shout out to our Windermere, but if it is, that's pretty sick. Well done. Thank you all so much for the support. Welcome to Remember the Game Industries, patreon.com/rememberthegame. And a quick note, a listener pointed it out to me. I didn't notice this. If you had already grandfathered in a subscription through Apple, don't even worry about it. It doesn't matter. But if you're signing up now, don't go through the Apple app, the Patreon app, because they're taking they're not taking a taste. They're adding on charges just for them to take some. So I'm not getting any extra money, and you're going to pay an extra like 30% if you go through Apple. So don't do that. Just go to patreon.com. Like, just go to the website. But don't give those sons of bitches your money. All right? Don't do it. Give me your money. Don't give them your fucking money. Okay? That's enough blowing myself. Let's blow some of you by blowing in some cartridges. It is our opening segment here on the show. I read a few comments and questions from our Patreons, usually gaming related, but not always. And we call this segment Blowing in the Cartridge.
He blows all right. He blows big time.
That's it, honey. Get into the spirit.
Let's blow. Our first blower this week is hello, Mr. Thompson, who said, I'm listening to your Gaming Thanksgiving episode, and you just said you considered doing an indie game podcast. I'm going to say right now, shut up and take my money. I can't imagine I'm the only one, and far from it. Would love it if you did. Yeah, I can't. I forgot I brought that up. Yeah, so for those of you that, if you'll indulge me for just a moment, for those of you that don't know, on Patreon, we do 5 shows a week. And every Monday, it's Purple Monkey Dishwasher, where Mark McHugh and I review an episode of The Simpsons. Every Tuesday is Game Patch, our gaming news show. Wednesdays, Remember the Game. Thursdays, Expansion Pass, where we just do some random gaming. I do modern reviews, the rankings. You've all heard the blurb. And then Friday is The Rambling Idiot, where I just talk about whatever I want that's not video game related. And I had a vision years ago of trying to get to, like, I guess, for lack of better term, a network where I would publish a new show every day, Monday through Friday. And that way you always had something to listen to while you were at work if you were a subscriber. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do for the shows. At the time, I had 3. I had Remember the Game, Game Patch, and Expansion Pass. And I was trying to figure out ideas for 2 other shows. And I was like toying with a movie show. I was toying with a Simpsons show. I was toying with a wrestling show. And I was toying with an indie game centric podcast. And I'd still love to. The only reason I didn't do an indie podcast was because like 5 a week is a fucking lot of shows, and I can't play a game and review it every single week. I already do that with Remember the Game and try to get modern game reviews, including indie reviews on Expansion Pass. I was like, I don't think I can fit a third like game review show into the roster, and then trying to find a guest every week to interview is not an easy thing to do or anything like that. So it was a dream. It's still something, like, if I could clone myself or whatever, I might still consider doing an indie game only show. But right now, it's just, I'm pretty maxed out on my gaming content. But I appreciate the interest. Hello, Mr. Thompson. And for those of you that don't know, I do review a lot of indie games on Expansion Pass. So get in there and check them out. Alexander Johnson said, hey, with the last year that Xbox has had, do you still prefer them to PlayStation? I still prefer the console to PlayStation. And before PlayStation fans get all blah, 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 and start sending in hate mail, I play them all. I play Switch, I play Xbox, I play PlayStation. I liked the Xbox more than the PS2. I like the Xbox 360 more than the PS3. PS4 destroyed the Xbox One. It wasn't even a fucking contest. And then obviously this generation, the PS5 is kicking the Xbox Series everything's ass. I like the user interface better. I like the controller better. More of my games are on Xbox. It's just my preferred console of choice. If something's multi-platform, actually at this point I usually buy it on whatever I have nothing to play on. Like I bought Sonic Racing Crossworlds on my Xbox just because on PlayStation I have Ghost of Yotei. I gotta start saying it correctly now. Ghost of Yotei. I still want to get to Silent Hill F. So like I have lots to play over there, and Everybody's Golf I still want to get to. Whereas I didn't really have anything to play on my Xbox, so I threw it over there. So sometimes I decide where I'm going to buy something based on which console is getting the less use. But like all things equal, PlayStation's having a better generation without question. And if I had to get rid of one of my consoles, I would probably get rid of my Xbox and keep my PS5. But I do still prefer the Xbox controller and UI to PlayStation's. But Xbox is really, they are shit in the bed diarrhea style this generation. Fucking horrible. And they even started this year out so good, didn't they? Like, this year started so great. They had, like, a bunch of games, and they were like, hey, we're making a bunch more. Let's fucking go. And then they were like, oh, yeah, we're closing every studio. We're canceling games. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Disco Stew said, hey, blank man, what is the one Simpsons scene that gets you every time and why? Mine is the scene when Selma takes the kids to Duff Gardens, and Homer is sick, and he's in the car, and he yells, Duff Gardens, hurrah! Or the Disco Stew dead fish in his shoes. He can't get him out of there. You know what scene makes me laugh every single time I watch that show? When they go to Mount Splashmore and Homer gets stuck in the water slide, and then they have to like take the piece of tubing out of the water slide, and the crane lifts it out, and Homer's just got this like unimpressed, like stunned look on his face, and everyone's booing him as they're hoisting the tube out of the water slide. That will never not make me laugh. That's the one. There's lots, but that's the one that sticks out to me. Tommy Simps said, Mr. Blank, do you ever feel nostalgic for old cartoon Halloween episodes around this time? When the jack-o'-lanterns are out, I find myself reminiscing about the old YTV Halloween lineups back in the day. Cheers and happy spooky season. I can't. I mean, like, I've always said, you know, I'm not the biggest Treehouse of Horrors fan when it comes to The Simpsons. I can't think of a lot of other shows. I mean, South Park's got some good. I like the Halloween one where they go as the Avengers. And Stan can't go for whatever. Was it Stan that couldn't go? And he's like on the iPad or whatever. That one was kind of rad. You know what this season reminds me of though? You brought up YTV. It does remind me of YTV. And even though they were on all year, it reminds me of Goosebumps, and it reminds me of Are You Afraid of the Dark? I don't know if you guys had both those shows in the States. I'm sure you had Goosebumps. I don't know. Did Are You Afraid of the Dark make it down to the States? Was that a Canadian show? I don't know. But both of those theme songs, like the title, the main credits, like themes, still get me to this day. And I think of them every Halloween. But that's about it. And then the Treehouse of Horrors, just because they were always on TV this time of year, so you'd watch them over and over and over again. Patrick Hunter said, Adam, I got a question. What is the last game you played on the PlayStation Vita? Ooh, I did love the PlayStation Vita. I would guess it was either MLB The Show or Minecraft. Patrick Hunter, because that was primarily what I used that was where my MLB The Show addiction started. Was on Vita, because it was so perfect to take that thing handheld. Dude, 2 weeks ago on The Rambling Idiot, I talked about getting snowed in Cranbrook and having nowhere to go. I played my Vita sitting in that. I had my Vita with me, and I played MLB The Show just over and over and over again. You could probably find pictures of it on my Instagram. Good times. So it would have been those. It would have been one of those, or else I used it for a lot of classics. Like my one playthrough of Final Fantasy IX was on my Vita. I discovered a lot of indie games. Hotline Miami took over my fucking Vita for a while. But if I had to guess, it was probably MLB The Show. Because I played that up until, like, right before I sold off most of my collection. I was playing that. I played, like, 6 seasons of that game on my Vita. Vita's a good fucking system, man. Shout out to the Vita. Turbo Mango. So this is something I've always wondered. Curious to hear your thoughts. Why can't we get new games for old systems like the 64, the Super Nintendo, the PS2, etc.? I'm sure there's developers out there that would be interested in making them, and they could probably be made a way smaller team than was required when these systems were new. You can still buy reproductions of some games, so the tech obviously still exists to produce the cartridges. People are still playing good, sometimes, or paying good, sometimes insane money for those old games, and there's an entire movement of retro-inspired modern games. Just seems wild to me that no one has done this. How cool would it be to get a new exclusive release on the Super Nintendo or 64 in 2025, or even to have something like Sea of Stars on a playable cartridge? I get it wouldn't be a moneymaker on the level of modern AAA games, but I think there's a big enough audience for it to be feasible and turn a profit. You know what? I don't know. I mean, like, it'd be rad. Like, listen, if fucking Capcom, and I think that's like, I think the risk probably doesn't justify the reward. And I'm talking out of my ass. I know nothing about game development, the markets, the budgets, all that kind of stuff. I would imagine the risks don't justify the rewards, because it's not like they have any, like, at any given time, ballpark how many consoles are out there, right? Even before all the data we were sending on our PlayStations and Xboxes now, like, Nintendo knew they'd sold 50 million Super Nintendos, or whatever the fuck. I wonder, it must be incredibly difficult to get the data now to know how many people are playing a Super Nintendo in 2025, or, like, how many of them are being played versus how many are broken versus how many are stuck in somebody's attic or something like that. So once you add in the additional cost of the cartridge, which is not cheap, you're right, there are still companies that do it, but it's not a cheap thing to do. Once you throw in the additional cost of the cartridge, plus it's not like, where do you... I'm not trying to poo-poo on your idea, for the record, Turbo Mango, because if tomorrow Capcom came out and announced, like, Mega Man 12 for the NES, I would buy that cartridge. I'd pay $100 for an official NES cartridge with Mega Man 12 on it. Like, no joke. So, like, I'd be all over it. But in addition to not knowing how many people are genuinely out there that would buy your thing, like, how do you sell it in brick and mortar stores? Because the Best Buys and the Walmarts and stuff are already pulling back on the amount of physical games they carry. They're not going to start stocking a novelty item like Super Nintendo games, which is why stuff like limited run games, sometimes, like, they just re-released, like, Zombies Ate My Neighbors on a Super Nintendo cartridge, or like a knockoff Super Nintendo cartridge. But you had to buy it online, and then the shipping and stuff isn't cheap. I have to imagine the overall risk isn't worth the reward, or the potential reward. Like, they just don't know. That said, I think the best way to do it would probably be either an indie game or something like Mina the Hollower. I mean, I don't know. That game's coming from Yacht Club Games on Halloween. If you haven't seen it yet, look it up. It's fucking awesome. That's the developers of Shovel Knight. And it's like a Game Boy Color looking, like, Link's Awakening type looking game where you play as, like, a mouse going through dungeons and stuff. I don't know if that game could fit on a Game Boy cartridge. Like, maybe it's too big. I don't know. But presuming it would, something like that would be, like, a really cool thing to do. But if they were ever going to sell that would probably be like, you'd probably be able to buy the game digitally for like $20 or spend like $80 to get the cartridge shipped to your house. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I think the risk just probably isn't worth the reward, because they probably have to sell them for, I would imagine, 40 plus, and a lot of those old games are only a couple hours long. I think it'd be great, and I'd love to see it done. I just don't know if anyone ever be willing to really roll the dice outside of these, like, specific novelty games and stuff like that. But I think that'd be sick. I would love to add some modern Super Nintendo games to my Super Nintendo collection. I think that'd be fucking awesome. Justin Combustion said, okay, we all know your thoughts and feelings on AI, but I'm genuinely curious. What would it take for you to play an AI-generated game? A specific franchise? Everything becoming AI-generated? Or would it ever get to a point where AI's involvement would force you to give up the hobby altogether? This coming from someone who's totally impartial to the whole AI thing. Much love, man, and thanks for all you do. Thank you, Justin. For the record, I'm not necessarily, like, anti-AI as a, like, I Google stuff and read the AI summaries at the top and shit. Like, I'm not totally opposed to the concept of AI. I hate the idea that people are losing their jobs. And more importantly, everyone can mock me. I don't care. I know I'm not the only one that feels this way. I'm terrified that AI is going to fucking take over someday. Like, I am truly genuine, like, not losing sleep over it, but I'm as scared of AI as I am of bees. Like, I know that bees aren't going to hurt me, but they could hurt me. I know AI is not going to hurt me, but it could. That said, if like EA came out and was like, hey, NHL 28 is 100% AI developed, we got rid of all of our companies, or all of our developers, it's only gonna be like $40 now or whatever the fuck, I wouldn't play that. But if you were just like, hey, here's a new studio or a new branch of a new studio, and they were like, we wanted to try it entirely. Here's the very first like AI generated game. I probably would try it just to see how it works and see how they did and how it works. So I'm not necessarily totally opposed to it. I just, all things equal, it's just I'm scared of it. That's all. That's all it is. And then finally, it's letter time. It's letter time. First time commenter wrote in, that's a fucking lie. Said, hey, Adam, it's no secret that Nintendo is facing a lot of backlash due to the mistakes it's made since Switch 2's launch. And honestly, as a major fanboy, I'm starting to give up hope that this is the same Nintendo I fell in love with. My question is, what do you think Nintendo could realistically do to win back the love of gamers? So I'm going to tackle this from two angles because I am also a diehard Nintendo fanboy that everybody, and I think everyone that listens to this show knows it. Like, to me, it goes Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation. That's always been my preferred order of consoles, so whatever. From the Nintendo has made a lot of mistakes, and they're what do they have to do to win back the love of gamers? We were just talking about it on Game Patch. The Switch 2, through 3 months, is the fastest selling console in U.S. history. And it's like outselling the original Switch by 70+%, and they could be up to 20 million consoles sold in a year. So I don't, and I trust me, I have some things I want Nintendo to change, and I'm going to get to those in a second. But I'm just saying, I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, fucking Nintendo. They re-release their old games over and over and over again. They charge too much for them. The fucking Switch 2 is too expensive. Pokemon is lazy. I hear you. I even agree with some of your takes. But the simple fact is they are killing it. They're making like more money than they've ever made. I don't think they need to do anything because they're winning. Again, you don't have to like it. I haven't liked every decision they've made this gen, but they're winning. They're selling more than they've ever sold. So I don't think they have to do anything. I think, and I don't think they will. Like, it's the classic speak with your wallet, right? When the Switch 2 prices was announced, we said, if you think this thing is too expensive and you think Nintendo fucked up with this price, speak with your wallet. Don't buy it. And if enough people don't buy it, they're going to have to change something. But that's obviously not the case because they're selling more than they anticipated. So I don't think they have to do anything. That said, I do think, well, Nintendo still has a very rabid fan base, and there are still a lot of people that buy their consoles and buy their games and like what they do. There is a big slice of the gaming pie out there that's kind of had enough of Nintendo shit. I have been saying for years on this podcast, as a Nintendo fanboy, the only thing that keeps Nintendo from complete and utter bankruptcy is their IP, right? The way they treat us doesn't get them ahead. It's not like people are like, oh man, I just love the way Nintendo fucking pounds me every time I want to buy something from them. I love the way Nintendo shuts down Smash Brothers tournaments. I love the way Nintendo patents every game mechanic under the sun. I love the way Nintendo sues people into oblivion. Like, and for the record, if you're selling pirated games or pirating, like, I have no sympathy for you. You kind of deserve to get sued. But like, for all the stupid shit that they do, and they could walk back, and I'd like to see them walk back. I lost my train of thought now. What was I talking about? I know all the stupid things that they've done and all that dumb shit. I don't feel like they don't feel like they have to change. So I don't think they're going to, because they're like, if the Switch 2 stopped selling, like the Wii U didn't sell. So they changed. They went to the Switch. They had to, right? Like, it's the GameCube got its ass kicked. I love the GameCube, but the PS2 in particular kicked that thing's fucking ass. So then they tried something different with the Wii, which was a huge success. I hate that fucking thing, but it was a huge success. They reinvent the formula when they need to reinvent the formula. Do I think they could be better to us? Oh, that's what I was saying, is the only thing they have is their IPs. That's what I was trying to say. People are always going to buy Mario. They're always going to buy Zelda. They're always going to buy Pokemon, whether you like it or not. They're always going to. They will always fucking sell. So, it's one of those things where I'm like, fuck, you treat me like shit. You know, they're like the girlfriend. I'm like, you treat me like shit. You take all my money. You fucking beat on me, cheat on me, do all these horrible things, but like, God, you're hot and I can't quit you. You know what I mean? Like, and that's how I feel with how it is with Nintendo sometimes. And I feel like they know that. So if they wanted to win back the good graces of the fans, I really think, like, you're never going to get them to pull back on their protection of their IP. You're never going to get them to stop reselling old games, because as long as people keep buying them, they're going to keep reselling them. But it's just stuff like shutting down like high school Smash Brothers tournaments because they didn't ask you for your permission. Like, that's the type of shit that's gonna piss people off, you know? Patenting game mechanics, this Pal World thing, I understand to a very limited extent why Pal World lit a fire under their ass. Like, I kind of get it, but I still think that if you wanted to win our support back and win over the public, those are the type of things where, like, you know, talk to them, make a deal. Like, I don't know, do something with them. I don't, it's one thing to protect Mario. Like, if they were using Mario, yeah, fucking sue their asses. Who cares? But, like, because they released a game similar, is that really, you know? But again, as long as their shit's selling, I feel like Nintendo right now they kind of remind me of PlayStation during the PS2. Like, when the PS2 was on fire, sorry, I know this is a long, rambly answer, but it's my third show of the day. I'm fucking tired. When the PS2 was like lighting the world on fire and setting records for how many it sold and everything. Does everyone remember Sony with the PlayStation 3? Like, they fucking lost gaming on the PS3 launch. They fucked up so hard there, and it took them a long time to get their shit together and figure it out. And Nintendo has been there before. I just think right now they're kind of in PS2 mode where they're like, dude, our consoles are like, the Switch is the most successful system ever that's not the PS2. It's fucking selling like gangbusters. The Switch 2 is outselling the Switch 1. Why would you change anything? But, you know, the only way they're going to change is if eventually they get kicked in the teeth. And I think they will at some point. But right now, I don't think they give a fuck. Frankly, I think that's what it boils down to, and we'll move on. I don't think they give a fuck what we think of them. They give a fuck about how much money they're making, and they're making a lot of money. So they don't really give a shit what I think or what you think or what anybody else thinks. That said, just, you know, fucking at least give me a fucking reach around, you know, while you're fucking with me, Nintendo, please. Anyway, we'll move on. Because as I've seen the one review that guy said, he sexualizes games too much on his show. You're fucking right, I do. Games make me fucking horny, buddy. Let's switch things up and get to our Smash Hit segment, the official game show of Remember the Game Industries. It is Play 1, Remake 1, Erase 1. And a huge thank you to Classic Concentration from the NES for unknowingly providing us with the theme music for the show. The rules are simple. Every week I give our patrons not one, not two, but 3 retro video games. They can play one as it was released, remake one as a modern game, and the third is erased from time forever. And as always, there are no wrong answers, but there is a right one. We'll get to that in just a minute. This week we're talking Resident Evil Remake, so I went with 3 more Resident Evils. But unlike last week where I went with 3 big Resident Evil games, this week I went a little bit more under the radar. We have Resident Evil Outbreak, Resident Evil Survivor, and Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles. And 30% of you said you'd play Outbreak, remake Survivor, and erase Umbrella Chronicles. Let's see what a few of you had to say here, and then I'll tell you what the right answer was. The $100 kid, Ted Michaels, said play Umbrella Chronicles. Very underrated light gun game, quite a bit of fun. Remake Outbreak. The concept was good, the delivery was not. Always good grounds for a remake because they can fix what didn't work. And then erase Survivor. I actually didn't mind this game as much as the others who erased it, but one's got to go, and this is the worst / least redeemable of the pack, so we can't do much else. Bye-bye, Texas. I love the Texas. That's, if you don't know, a Simpsons thing. It's fucking never not going to make me laugh. Good logic. And you are right. It's just like buying a house with a good skeleton, but you don't like the paint. You're like, I can fix the paint. I need a good layout. And so if a game's got a good concept, but just kind of drop the ball, that is a prime remake candidate. I agree with that. Trooper Galactus said play Outbreak because it's one of the few Resident Evil games I've never played, and I'd like to see the story. Also, one of my wife's students played the theme at her recital. Oh, that's nice. Remake Survivor because just about every PS1 era game can use some renovations. Agreed. And then erase Umbrella Chronicles because I ain't picking up a Wiimote ever again. Ah, fellow Wii hater. Near and dear to my heart. Trooper Galactus. Alexander Johnson said play Umbrella Chronicles. It was fun enough, although Dark Side was better. Remake Outbreak because it wasn't bad and I never got to play it online. Obviously, erase Survivor. If you think 6 was bad, this is the biggest shit stain on the series. Are you? And I haven't played this one, so I'm not questioning your logic, Alexander. But to say that a game is worse than Resident Evil 6 is that is spicy. I respect it. I give that a 3. Texas. Noof on the Loose said play Survivor because I like being alive. Remake Umbrella because having a strong umbrella is important in the rain. And delete Outbreaks because the last thing we need is another pandemic. I haven't played any of these. That sounds like something a Noofy would say. Much love, Newfoundland. Noof on the Loose with my favorite comment of the week. That was well done. And Steve Clark said play Umbrella Chronicles because the rail shooter idea was a fun change of pace and I didn't hate it. Remake Outbreak, a modern remake, would give it a chance to shine again. Erase Survivor because it already is in my mind. I owned that game, beat it, and I don't remember anything about it at all. Maybe you hit your head, Steve. We've all been there. I'm actually going to go with the majority this week. 30% of you. You guys got it right. I agree with you, as did Ness, Paula, Jeff, and Pooh, who said I'd play Outbreak, as it's one of the few Resident Evil games of that era I never played. Remake Survivor as Resident Evil 7 and 8 have shown that first-person Resident Evil can be great, and this game could use a second chance. Just keep the awful, goofy dialogue intact. And then erase Umbrella Chronicles, as if I recall correctly, it was just bits of other better games made into a light gun game for the Wii. No, thank you. Yeah, I similar reasoning. Not exactly the same, but similar. And I have not played any of these. I had to look all three of these up. So I'm going to play Resident Evil Outbreak. Yes, I'm going to play Outbreak, which was, I believe, PS2. And that was there was 8 different characters and they all had different skill sets. I know you could play it online and co-op, but you could also play it alone, which is how I like it. And it's just the one that interests me the most. So that's the one I'm going to play. And then I'm going to remake Survivor, which was the first-person Resident Evil game on PS1. Because I agree. I think Resident Evil 7 and 8 are both awesome. And I think first-person Resident Evil can work. So that was the one that interests me the most. And PS1 games need some love. So they're like stupid babies. They need the most attention. So I'm gonna remake Survivor from PS1. And then I'm going to race Umbrella Chronicles, which was the on-rails first-person shooter from the Wii. I think everybody knows why. I have a Wii bias. And I stand by it. I'm prejudiced against the Wii. Thank you, everyone that wrote in as always. I appreciate it. What have I been playing? And then we're into Resident Evil Remake. I've been playing Resident Evil 3 Remake. I finished that one. We're going to review it on Expansion Pass tomorrow. You'll have to tune in to hear my thoughts. And now I'm actually caught up on games for the show. I finished Alan Wake. We're going to review that next week. And so I'm caught up for a couple weeks. So I'm finally working on some modern games for my personal backlog. I'm flipping between Hollow Knight Silksong, Sonic Racing Crossworlds, and Ghost of Yotei. And I like all three very, very much. All three are going to get expansion passes, and 2 of them probably finalists for my game of the year. But you'll have to wait to find out which one, okay? Or which 2, I guess. That's it, okay? So we're gonna take a break here, and when we get back, it is Resident Evil Remake talk from here until infinity, okay? Remember, the game will return after these messages.
Resident Evil, more terrifying than ever, comes to Nintendo GameCube. Spine-chilling action. Devastating weapons. Unspeakable evil. Live the nightmare. Resident Evil, exclusively from Capcom. Rated M for mature, only on Nintendo GameCube.
We now return to Remember the Game. Let's talk some Resident Evil Remake. I know that's why you nerds are here. As always, I like to let my listeners sound off on the game we're covering before my guest and I hug the microphone. No shortage of comments, just no shortage. Probably about 50 comments, and they were practically all just singing this game's praises. I just picked some at random, okay? Because you guys all seem to love this game, and I love you all for it. So, Vic to the face. Honestly, one of the greatest remakes ever. The painted black backgrounds and atmospheric lighting in this game are bar none. Then it was only topped by Resident Evil 2 Remake later, which was only topped by Resident Evil 4 Remake. Apparently, Capcom knows how to cook up an old dish right. I'll put it to the test. I don't know how many other games have had this many remakes, but yeah, I don't know if there's a better series of remakes than Resident Evil. I agree. Like they're 2 and 4 are fucking Resident Evil 2 and 4 Remake are 2 of the best Resident Evils ever. And Resident Evil 1 Remake belongs in that category as well. It's fucking so good. I agree. Kugda said fixed cameras, tight corridors, more focused on puzzles over the action, takes the OG story to greater heights. Capcom went above and beyond expectations with this game and set the standard for every Resident Evil moving forward. While I love the cheesiness of the old games, the remaster gave us a darker, scarier version of the Resident Evil world that they still use to this day. The addition of the Crimson Heads was amazing and terrifying, and I'll never forgive them for darkest, most traumatic story in Resident Evil, in any, Jesus Christ. And I will never forgive them for darkest, most traumatic story in any Resident Evil with the introduction of Lisa Trevor. This game is hands down my favorite game in the series and my second favorite game of all time. Itchy Tasty. Well, it says Tazy, but I think it's a typo. Ian Bruce said, I played this game for the first time this year, and god damn it, is it ever amazing. Took me a bit to get a hang of the tank controls, but once the different pieces of this game click together, it's an awesome experience that holds up so well. I'm not a big trophy hunter, but I got the platinum for this game, which took me 6 playthroughs, and I can beat it in about 2 hours at this point. That's how much I love this game. I feel like getting the platinum is always like a tip. Like, I've only platinum games I love too. I feel like that's the ultimate show of respect to a game, is a platinum trophy. Ida Hoju said the remake before remakes became a big deal. I'm guessing the only reason that the original hasn't been remade like Resident Evil 2 Remake is because this game holds up so well. Tank controls add to the experience, and man, the GameCube had some horsepower. Agreed. And we do get into that a little bit on this episode. What games do we want to see remade? Oh yeah. And on that note, near the end of the episode, we talk about what other, like, do we want Resident Evil 1 remade? Again, do we want to see Resident Evil 0 or Code Veronica remade? If you haven't seen it, since Patrick and I recorded this, it was, or at least the story is, the rumors are out there, but it sounds fairly confirmed that both Resident Evil 0 and Code Veronica are getting remakes. So before you write in to tell me, appreciate it, but we recorded this before that story came out. I'm excited. I'll play both, okay? And I looked at the trap, Ray, said I saved up for weeks to get a GameCube just for this and bunked off college for the day to play it. Absolutely loved it. It took the original game and dialed everything up to 11. The graphics still hold up today, and it changed just enough to keep it nice and fresh. I know other games have done remakes bigger and better, but for me, this is the gold standard. It showed how a remake can and should be made. It kept old fans happy and drew in new ones. Well fucking said, because you're right. Like, I love Final Fantasy VII Remake, for example, but a lot of people got pretty upset about that one because it changed so much. I agree. Well said. I looked at the trap, Ray. This is the gold standard for showing how a remake can and should be made. Kept old fans happy and drew in new ones. Well fucking said. I love this game. I'm ready to talk about it. I hope you're ready to hear it. Again, spoilers are coming. Not tons, but enough to ruin some plots of the game for you. My buddy Patrick is here as well. I'm going to cue up some Resident Evil Remake music. And when it stops, we're going back to the Nintendo GameCube on April 30th, 2002 to talk Resident Evil Remake. Enjoy the episode, everybody. Here we go. All right, joining me on a soggy Sunday. It's pouring rain, football's on. Best time of day to sit inside and talk about old video games. Is my boy Patrick. We're talking Resident Evil, and he is definitely our Resident Evil. Patrick, how are you, my evil friend?
I am the Resident Evil.
We don't remember the game doesn't really have an evil guest, so
I thought wasn't Mark the hated character for a while?
He's not evil. He just sucks.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't. He's not evil. He's just bad. So
shout out to evil.
You're not evil either. You just like evil games.
That's right.
Yeah, but you seem like a nice fella away from evil games. How are you, buddy? How's life?
Your perception? Things are good. Yeah,
good.
Things are great. We're talking Resident Evil, so I mean, how much better could it be?
Doesn't get any better. I was just saying to Patrick off air, I've played Resident Evil Remake, Resident Evil 3, and Resident Evil 3 Remake in the last 2 weeks. I am Resident Evil'd out, but I have really, I know you and I have talked Resident Evil already, but I have really become a huge fan of this franchise. You go back longer with them than me. I'm basically a noob to Resident Evil. Just out of the gate, I'm just gonna put you on the spot. What are your top 3 Resident Evil games? I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, that's fine. We were kind of talking about this a little bit, and I feel like I've had some opinions in past shows where we've covered so many of them. Yeah. Of the original series, I'd say prior to 4 and kind of the modern style of gameplay, 3 was always my favorite. I always liked 3 the most. I don't really know what it is. I've just always liked the Jill character. I like the Nemesis character. Outside of that, I also really like Code Veronica X, the one that was on the PlayStation 2. That was a really fun one. But I mean, 4 and some of the modern ones are really good. I had a really strange one on the PlayStation 2. I owned Dead Aim for a long time, which was one of the light gun shooter. Yeah. So I had that. That's a terrible game, but very fun. But okay. I mean, overall original series, I think 3 is my favorite.
All right, fair enough. Because we just did 3 last week, and I was like, I love the concept. I just get irritated with it sometimes. But and then I just played the remake, which I'll review this week. But I thought it was very good. The only Resident Evil that I have played that I can truly say I don't like is 6.
I love 5 and 6. I don't know why. I think we've had this conversation before. I like both 5 and 6.
I like
I just
5.
I'm just such a fan of because 6 is more. They made it more like an action game, right? It's less horde. It's more just kind of run around shooting stuff.
Yeah.
But
Honestly, I
6 is the
only
one that
played a
has
couple
all
hours.
has multiple characters. I think it has like it's got like the
Yeah.
multiple scenarios with dual characters. I think that's great. Yeah,
It's pretty wild that like I mean, let's exclude the spin-off games like the Lycon games and like the freak games that like everybody
sure.
throws shade at. When you just talk
Outbreak
about the
and yeah.
mainline franchise, like I haven't played Zero. I know a lot of people don't like Zero. I haven't played Zero yet.
After
Uh
playing the remake, I wanted to play Zero.
oh, is that?
I don't
Yeah,
know why.
I kind of do too. Yeah, I kind of do
Yeah,
too. It's pretty remarkable that that franchise like Resident Evil 9 is right around the corner. And they really have, again, if we're just talking the mainline series, not a ton of missteps. That's pretty remarkable. Like, usually by now, games are so off into the grass, so you're like, what the fuck's even going on anymore? But
yeah.
Resident Evil, man, they fucking good for
I,
Capcom. I wish they would bring Mega
yeah.
Man back, but they're killing it with Resident Evil. They got Street Fighter, they got Monster Hunter. Capcom's one of the beasts out there of developers.
Oh
Like
yeah,
they've
absolutely.
been around quite a long time. They're good shit.
Do you think it's because they? I feel like Capcom has always protected their IP pretty closely, and it feels like maybe that's why they just keep like slamming out great titles for these IPs that they have.
Yeah, it could be. They know what they have and what it's worth, and they're like we as long as we don't like. That's the thing is like people dunk on stuff like sorry everyone, we'll get into Resident Evil Remake talk in a second, but like people dunk on like EA because they there's this the same Madden every year, the different roster update and stuff like that, and Call of Duty and like I'm not going to argue like I agree the annualized titles get old after a while. And I'm not saying that Capcom's games are annualized, but they do keep going back to the well. But whereas like a Ubisoft seems to lose people with the Far Cries and the games that are just the same games again and again and again and again, Capcom, like they've been around a very long time. And I don't think there's a problem with milking the same 4 or 5 cows over and over and over again, as long as you're producing quality milk, like it's, and like how often does Capcom
Eh,
drop a game that just genuinely sucks? Like
yeah,
not
yeah. I
often.
don't. I don't think. There's nothing I can really think of.
Yeah.
I
So
think their willingness to kind of expand on the formula as well. Like we talk like with Resident Evil, changing like the format into like a first person shooter for a game, and like I really enjoyed that one. And then I guess there was two of them that were
yeah,
the current run is first person shooter, and it works really well still. Like it's still
it's
a
awesome.
fantastic game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think 7. I mean, I'll do a ranking episode soon, but 7 is magnificent. 8 is very good. 7's
yeah,
magnificent.
yeah.
And I don't know about you, but like I have sky high hopes and expectations for Requiem next year. Like
I
it
have no
looks
doubt
awesome.
it's gonna be great.
We're going back to Raccoon City, buddy. Oh my
Oh
god, I
yeah,
can't wait. Anyway, now that we've killed almost 7 minutes, Resident Evil Remake. I think most of you are aware, but if you're not, this is a remake of the one that started it all, the original PS1 game. And people have been telling me to play this one for a long time. I've been wanting to play this one for a long time. I bought it after I played Resident Evil because Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube was my first Resident Evil. And
yeah.
then I thought it was awesome. And then I bought Resident Evil Remake and I played like an hour of it. And I was like, this sucks because it is a different game than 4, right? Like
Sure, yeah.
4 is where they really made that transition to action games. And 1 is the puzzle or the tank controls, puzzles, slow moving.
The classic control. Yeah,
Yeah, but now that I've like become a Resident Evil fan, I've played most of them. I was like, I'm going back. I finally need to see if this one is as good as everybody says it is, and I will put it to task. I think by today's standards, things have changed with stuff like Final Fantasy VII remake and even Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake. But as of Resident Evil remake, as of this game's initial release back in 2002, is this not at least up to that point the greatest remake of all time? It
yeah. I
might
mean,
be.
I think so. Like it's a fantastic way to remake it and still maintain like faith to the original without changing too much. Like we talk about Resident Evil 2 remake, Resident Evil 3 remake, where it's in that new style of gameplay, the third person over the shoulder Resident Evil 4 kind of reinvention, and you argue that it makes it a better game. And I mean, Resident Evil 2 is probably the greatest Resident Evil the remake, sorry, is probably like the greatest game that's available there. Like that's so good,
I agree.
universally
Resident Evil
loved.
2 remake is spectacular. Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's amazing. But this is keeping true to the original game source material, controls, things like that. Like you're getting everything that a remake should do. You know, revitalizing that game and presenting it in a new, shinier package, and it's done really well here.
Yeah, I would argue this is kind of like I guess the first remake might be Mario All Stars, like on the Super Nintendo, which was great as well. But I would argue that this was like this set the bar for remakes, and for a
Sure,
long
yeah.
time they were unsurpassed. Like this is because I haven't played the OG Resident Evil in years. I kind of wanted to do a run before this review just so I could compare it to the remake, but I didn't have time.
Yeah.
But I like the OG Resident Evil. Like you're in the mansion, you're trying to figure out why it's full of zombies. It is survival horror. It's such a the OG Resident Evil is such an important monumental game to like the horror genre. Like it's such a big fucking deal.
Mhm. Yeah.
With arguably the most legendary cutscene of all time with the zombie head turning and looking at you, of course.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was excited to play this one, but I was also like, fuck, I don't know. You're messing with a pretty good fucking recipe. They improved. Is there a single aspect of Resident Evil Remake that isn't an improvement over the OG? Like it's just, I thought it
Yeah.
was just from beginning to end. I was enthralled by this game.
I can definitely name one. One aspect that didn't improve is the fucking Crimson Head zombies.
Fair enough.
I do not care for that.
Fair enough. But all right, well, I guess that ruins my argument. But no, you're right. You're right. Fair enough. But still though, like the point stands that like this is an incredibly good remake.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Like
100%. Yeah.
I am a little bit, I would love to know why they didn't get away from the tank controls. Like, because I think 4 was out by now.
Was it?
And they kind of just kept the same controls. Like it's basically a facelift, right? Like by and large. And I want to make it abundantly clear. I like tank controls in classic horror games. I feel like it adds to the tension.
So I wasn't big on the GameCube. What do you know, like offhand, the timeline between like Resident Evil 4 and this one coming out?
I'm
Is it
looking
like
right now.
the like the change of formula wasn't tested yet? They weren't sure if it was going to be as big of a game as it was, or
Yeah,
were they
I'm
in
checking that right
development
now.
like side by side? Is it the worry that you get Resident Evil 4, which are arguably became like a flagship in the series?
Yeah.
So it's like you have two of the same game back to back, kind of.
So I'll shut up about this. So Resident Evil 4, I could have sworn they came out around the same time, but Resident Evil 4 came out 3 years after Remake.
Okay,
So
that's what I had thought it was. I thought though it was kind of like these titles, and that kind of paved the way for like interest in a Resident Evil game. I was kind of reading. I think it had something to do with a contract that they were obligated to provide a certain amount of games on the GameCube. And it was like, I
Capcom
think
did
it
have
included
a
the 4.
yeah. They were in bed with Nintendo big time during the Cube era.
And this was one of those obligations. So it could have been just solely that. Like it's like we're gonna just remake a game we already have the foundation for as a fulfill that obligation.
Yeah, it
But
could be.
they did it very good.
Yeah, I'll walk back my claim about not getting rid of tank controls because at this point that was all these games had. It's fine. That's what their normal was.
We loved it back then.
Yeah, and that's that said, like, I want to make it clear, like I said a minute ago, like I like that's where I get a little bit rattled with Resident Evil 3 is because I find when it throws a ton of enemies at you, I almost find the tank controls a little bit frustrating. But playing Resident Evil 1 and 2, where the enemies are more like every zombie you come across is like a big deal when you're going through the mansion in Resident Evil. Like they all matter. And I think those tank controls add so much to it. And I know people have written into the show, and I know people have been telling me since I said we were going to review this one that they're like, I tried it. I can't get into it. Those controls, what the fuck was with those controls? And maybe it was just a product of the times and you had to grow up in that era. I don't know.
Are they saying that about this remake or about the older Resident Evil games in general?
Well, like both the OG Resident Evil and in particular this one.
So did you play this one with the modern controls?
No, I left it classic tank controls. I didn't even know there was modern controls.
So did you play like with an analog stick, or did you play because like the default when you play, I think they have like a modern control as the default. I think you have to switch it back to like manual tank mode, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
I played it in tank. Like I played it on my Switch. I used my Joy-Cons, but I used the analog.
Okay,
But I played it with like tank controls. Can you play it with modern controls?
so it's modern to that, like, so I played it two ways. So I might be mistaken, but the way I remember it when I was starting it up, I was looking through the controls. You can switch to like classic controls, but they have this like hybrid modern where you use the analog stick to point in the direction that you want the character to go. Um,
Oh.
and I was using that for a while, and the default is when you're holding the analog stick, the character's always running. And I found myself doing a lot of, when the camera shifts, I would do a lot of that, like circle around and kind of
Oh.
take a second to gain the perspective,
Yeah.
which caused a lot of, and then I was always running, so I was end up running into enemies and getting into a lot of conflicts that way that I didn't want to. And it wasn't until probably about 4 hours into the game that I started just using the D-pad, and it was more the, you hold up in the direction you want the character to move forward, and like I guess the classic tank control, and then it allows you to use the like the toggle the run button as you're holding it. You can run and let go to walk through. And once I started doing that, I had an infinitely better time with the game, because originally I was kind of like dreading playing, because I'm like, I'm not enjoying these controls, I'm not enjoying what's happening
Right.
and the way I'm playing. And then once I switched to those controls, it was much better. Like it was just, it had that like classic Resident Evil feel, and it's just what I was familiar and kind of what that muscle memory ingrained, where I was able to walk through environments where I thought there might be an enemy coming up, so I didn't just immediately run into an off-screen enemy that they, Resident Evil is famous for throwing at you.
Oh, legendary. Fucking drives me bananas. I'm literally like holding my Switch right now, firing it up. It's been a couple weeks since I finished my playthrough, and I've played 3 and 3 remakes since, and I'm like, am I? Yeah, no, I'm playing like classic, like she's walking right now, like my Jill control.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was. So I must have used the D-pad, because you're right. When I use the
Yes.
analog, she just runs.
So the analog, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is like the modern kind
Oh,
of.
okay.
Here's a new
Then I
controls.
must have used the D-pad, because I much prefer being able to, like, not only because I find it a competitive advantage to kind of go slower into areas in case something jumps out at me.
Mhm.
I know this is gonna sound stupid, but like it just feels more authentic,
Well,
doesn't
it
it?
feels good because you hold up and the character moves forward, and then regardless of how the perspective changes in the room, you're always moving forward. So all you have to kind of do is adjust with like tapping left and right as you're moving and navigating through stuff,
Yeah,
as opposed to, yes, if you're like, say you hold the joystick down and you run towards the camera and the camera angle changes, if you're still holding down, I believe that still becomes like forward. But in my brain, I end up just like flicking it upwards to like move forward through the screen, but then the character, does the like kind of 180 or like stutters, and you kind of have to take it, or does like a big loop, and you're kind of getting a second to, and it's just a change I just didn't make an adjustment to. And I was just like, I don't like the way this is going. I don't feel like this is the experience I'm used to getting. And then once I started using the D-pad, it was like, oh yeah, this is the game. And I just immediately started falling in love with my playthrough at that point.
100%. So I don't know if maybe I did try analog at some point, but like I was holding it in my hands just a second ago, and I'm like, oh yeah, D-pad is where it's at, because the
Yeah.
tank controls work better. It just feels right.
Mhm.
The only issue I had with the controls is the same issue that I had with the original Resident Evil controls, and it's not even an issue. Maybe I just suck, but like I cannot aim to save my fucking life in this fucking
Sure.
game.
Yeah,
And I know
yeah.
that that's part of like the game, but
Yeah.
like the aiming up in particular, I'm like,
It's tough.
I can't
Yeah,
shoot
the
anything.
timing of like the headshots and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's like, I don't know about you. Like when I played classic Resident Evil, like, and that's another reason I struggle with 3, because in 1 and 2, like the game kind of trains you, like, conserve your ammo, put one in their leg and run by. And then 3
Yeah.
is like, fucking start
Yeah,
shooting, boy,
I'm
because they're
yeah,
coming.
yeah, yeah.
And I like that. I love that you can aim down. Like I thought it handled really well, because the zombies were so big and so detailed in this game, that like being able to shoot them in the legs and run by them worked perfectly.
Mhm.
The only time I had any real problems with combat was I gave up on trying to land a headshot, because I can't. And then I did find it. There's a part where you have to go out on the balcony and kill the dog and get the key off of his collar.
Yeah.
And for the life of me, man, killing those dogs, I maybe it's because subconsciously I don't want to shoot the dogs, but like I was
Sure.
like, fucking Jesus Christ, you're supposed to be like a fucking cop or some shit. You can't hit this
Yeah.
thing, like it's not
Yeah.
even moving.
Yeah.
Fuck. But that was just me, maybe. Um, And then, because I guess we're complaining. I gotta say, dude, like, not that it matters, but the boss fights in this game kind of suck. Like, I think they're cool concepts, like the giant plant and the snake, but they're just boring. Like, they're just bullet.
Sure.
You just shoot them.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It's minor complaint. I've never found boss fights in any of the classic Resident Evils all that. I don't feel like the combat lends itself to them very well. That's all.
Right.
So,
yeah. I mean, yeah, I can hear that criticism.
I do like them. Like, I love the giant snake. But even though I know it's coming, it still scares the shit out of me.
Right.
I just fucking hate trying to shoot it. That's all. And it looks gorgeous. I think that's the number one thing. That's like, of all the takeaways I could have of this game, it's just, I was like, sure, I'm playing the Switch version, which is probably an even more up-res version of the original GameCube version. But it looks, I know some people will roll their eyes and get all mad and be like, the grass blades don't look right and this and that. But I was like, dude, if you told me graphically that was like a PS4 game, I would be like, sure, totally. And this was on the GameCube.
It felt like looking at it, and I might be in the same boat because I played it on Steam, so I think it's a further remaster or HD remake of the remaster. I think that's what it is, like an HD remaster of the remaster or something like that.
Yeah.
Is looking at it, especially in the cutscenes, it feels like they're using the Resident Evil 4 engine. Like it felt like glimpses of that game.
100%.
And maybe that's what, maybe that was the basis, or they already had, the Resident Evil engine in place for it and then utilized it in 4. But there was a lot of stuff that I'm like, this feels and looks a lot like 4 does to me.
Yeah. I'm looking at screenshots of the GameCube version right now, and they're not too much different than modern ones. I wonder if part of what makes it possible to have graphics like that is that limited engine and is those camera angles. You don't have to worry about scrolling backgrounds.
Sure, yeah.
Everything's like a static screen.
And stuff, yeah.
So it's probably easier to fill it in when the screen's not moving ever.
Right.
But I was floored. Like every aspect of it. I'll hear an argument that the voice acting still isn't great. But I think cheesy voice acting adds to horror games, and I love it.
They redid all the voice acting for this remake,
and I still don't think it's very good.
Oh, I thought it was good. Well, yeah, okay, no, that's
but good in a bad way.
Might be bad, yeah.
Like it is cheesy.
There was definitely some spots that was like
not
characters making comments in scenes that didn't need to be made.
Yeah. Or like my favorite thing, and I've noticed it. It just made me laugh so hard. Is like when you play as Jill, there's the part early on where her and Barry go to the big dining room and then find the blood by the fireplace.
Yeah.
And Barry's like, I'll investigate here further. And then he just like, and now back to the blood. And he's just staring back at the floor again. Yeah. And I'm just like, sure, yeah, I'm 120 pounds. I'll fucking walk off into this mansion full of mean creatures by myself and see what the fuck happens. Why not? But even Wesker, like when you play as Chris, you run into Wesker a lot or a few times. Mm-hmm. I never finished a Jill playthrough, and I want to talk to you about that. But I played as Chris, and like you run into Wesker a few times, and he's like, I'm going to investigate here a little further. And he just doesn't, and I'm just like, okay, I guess I'll fucking go do all the heavy lifting there, Chief. Thanks a lot. And the way they say it just sounds so, and I'm not dunking on it. It's a point for me. It's going to get an extra point for me, but it is cheesy. It's better than Resident Evil 1 might be the worst voice acting in video game history.
Sure.
The PS1 version. But again, awesome because it's so cheesy. But it's pretty bad in this one. You played as Jill, you said, eh?
Yeah.
Why? No, I'm not anti-Jill. She's great. But why?
Just because I'm so pro Jill. Like we mentioned, 3 being my favorite. It's just, I like that character. So it's just, an opportunity to play that character again is...
That's fair.
That was my first choice.
I tried to get through a Jill run before we did this recording, and I'm about 2/3 of the way. Like I'm at the second, like the other cabin off in the woods now. But I just ran out of time and was like, I gotta get it done. That's one of the other things. And again, I know that the original Resident Evil, we've done an episode on the OG Resident Evil in the archives. You guys can go find it. I know the OG did this as well, but I was quite impressed. Like I got this game for like $10 and a playthrough with Chris took me about 12 hours. And then I still had the option to hop back in with Jill. And then you have difficulty settings and everything. And I was like, dude, there's a lot of, and the Jill playthrough, like they could have just made it the same as Chris, same puzzles, just, she can carry more, Chris can take more damage or whatever the fuck. Like that's all they, if they wanted to, that's all they would have had to do. But it's two different escape. Like I like that these games play as like escape rooms,
Yeah,
and
it's just ways to find the same kind of solution.
yeah. And it was really fun hopping back in his jail and being like, right away I can lockpick, but she can't do things that Chris can do. And you have to do things differently, but do them in the same locale. And there's a lot of, I just, tip of my cap to the OG developers for putting basically 2 games in the same game. It's really well done.
Yeah, I thought another mechanic I thought was cool was there seemed to be events that were the outcome was dependent on whether like another character was like poisoned or living. Like in the Jill playthrough, the snake bites one of the other characters. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But if you go back to one of the save rooms and you get the like there's that big shelf of bottles and whatever, and you get like an antidote for him, and if you give it to him, he comes in and helps you during the fight with Jan. But if you don't, I assume the character just dies. And I guess in what I was reading in the Chris playthrough, it's the same thing as if he gets poisoned, you play as Rebecca for a time to find that antidote for him.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, because I did get past there with Jill, and yeah, you're right. Like Jill's got the medicinal know-how to like go and get the antidote, whereas Chris gets bit, and it's cool that you get to play as another character for just a minute, and she has to go and get medicine and bring it back to Chris. And I never tried, but I imagine it's not optional. Like you can't just let Chris die and finish the game as as Rebecca. Yeah. But it's cool, like you said, that it's the same areas but different. It's like I never got there. I'm in that second cabin right now, but there's like a room you can open up as Chris where there's like all these chemicals. Oh, that's probably the difference. There's all these like chemicals, and I'm imagining that when you play as Jill, she's smarter than Chris and can make like a poison to kill that plant, right?
Oh yeah, like the V-Jolt stuff.
Yeah.
Can Chris not do that? Does he not?
No, with Chris, he just goes like, I don't understand this, and you just basically have to shoot the plant.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
because I thought based on you get there's a note that tells you like how to like what makes what and mixes it, and then you mix it all together to make the V-Jolt, which makes shooting or killing the plants easier.
And that's what irritated me. Like, I might be wrong. I'm going to look it up. Can Chris make that? Because I tried. Like, I found the note, and I'm like, okay, well, Chris is probably smarter than me, and I understand that the note says combine these 2 medicines to make this. Like, but every time I tried with Chris, he was like, I don't know how to mix this stuff. And I was like, you illiterate fuck, read the note we just found. Like, why do you think I worked so hard to find this note?
You pull up the note. He's like, I don't know how to read this.
Yeah, that's what happened. And I was like, so now I'm curious. Like, I'm looking now. Resident. So it's little things like that I thought was really cool, that it's the same game but different. Can you poison the plant with Chris? Because like it's like Jill has the lockpick, whereas Chris needs to find the simple keys.
Right.
On my Chris playthrough, I killed the plant with 15 handgun bullets and a shotgun shell after poisoning the roots with Becky. What? Oh, so maybe. Oh, and now there's people being like, "Oh, I didn't know you could kill the plant without using the poison on it." So maybe I just did things the hard way.
Yeah, I know you can, but yeah.
Oh, well, all right.
Because there's a way you can, if you progress so far into getting to the plant, you can't go back into that room and investigate it. Like it just doesn't allow you to do the puzzle.
Right.
If you enter that fight without having done it beforehand, you can't go back and look at it. It just locks you out of that room.
Dude, that's like, I know we're maybe making a mountain out of or I am making a mountain out of a molehill here, but like, that's pretty impressive for a fucking PS1 game remade on the GameCube.
Yeah.
There's like multiple ways through this fucking house and multiple ways to tackle things, not to mention the different endings that you can get and all that kind of stuff. It's fucking crazy how much is in this. Dude, at the end of the game, I fucking had the chance to save Jill, and I was like, I'll come. I did. So I want to know how. Okay, you know what? How about let's just do this. Let's let the sponsor in, and then I already warned everyone there's gonna be spoilers and shit. I want to know how this ends at the end of the game with Jill. So let me pay my bills, and then when we come back, we'll talk about this. Okay? So remember, the game will return after these messages.
You're a hedgehog, and you have supersonic powers.
Ball up right now and roll!
Action. Come on, honey. And you're brave. And you're scared. Hey, focus! I want you to think about the marketing opportunities here. Okay, in front of the paper. What part of supersonic speed do you not understand?
The right hedgehog is hard to find. New Sonic Adventure 2 Battle with extra 2-player action. Only on Nintendo GameCube. Rated E for everyone.
All right, I'm sorry I yelled at you.
We now return to Remember the Game. So at the end of the game, when you're in like the laboratory, right? At the end of the game, you, with Chris, there's like these 3 lights you can turn on. You have to like figure out 3 different, you take the CD-ROMs or whatever they are, those CD keys.
Yeah. The discs, the MO discs or whatever they're
Yeah.
called.
And you drop them into the 3 computers and you get the 3 lights lit up. And then I was like, and I unlocked this door and I was like, okay, I'm going to come back to that door. I want to see what's up here first. And then I accidentally just kind of went to the end of the game and got away.
That's hilarious.
It is, because I looked up afterwards and they were like, Jill is behind those 3 locks.
Yeah. So,
and I was like,
so in mine, it's the same thing. So I unlocked it. I didn't go down there because I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And then I went and did the tyrant fight, or no, because the tyrant's down the elevator, right?
Yes.
You take the elevator down to the tyrant fight. So before that, I did all the room with like you're going through and making the
fuel or whatever it is.
The fuel, yeah. So you're dealing with all the chimeras and stuff. So then before I went to the elevator, I made sure to go back to through that door to see what was going on, and it was where Chris was in the jail cell, and then you go and talk to him, and it's like, oh, I don't have the key, I can't get him out yet. So then I knew he was in there to go come back there after the tyrant fight and get him. And then he just basically runs with you, like you find him, he runs ahead, but then you catch up to him, and then he's it's kind of pointless actually, because, and I wasn't sure how this played out on Chris's side. He runs with you for a short time. You kind of have him, but then you get to where you take the elevator up to the rooftop to do the final fight, waiting for the helicopter.
Yeah.
And you pick up like the elevator fuse, and then there's like an explosion or something. And he's like, "I'll go check it out," and he runs away, and then you're left to go. And I wondered if on the Chris version, if you played that version where he goes and does something else instead of going to the roof. But I assume.
So now with your ending, then did you have Chris because Barry pick? Because Barry picks Jill up, right?
No, it's I can't remember his name, but it's the guy. So I don't know if Chris, I guess, wasn't doing it throughout the game. There's a communication with the pilot. He's just kind of, there's cutscenes where he's doing radio checks, just being like, "Is anybody out there? Can anybody hear me?" Yeah,
that's happening with Chris as well. Yeah.
Okay. So that character, he ends up picking you up, but in my playthrough, Barry is dead because I didn't trust him at a particular scene.
Oh,
he doesn't come back.
Okay.
So in yours, I think it's Rebecca, right?
Well, I think you can get Barry as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I got the worst ending.
There's like, I didn't look up what ending I got. I would assume it was not great, because there's a scene where you're kind of like, some fuck shit's going on with Barry and with Wesker, and you're not really sure who's behind what. And then there's a scene where you find him, he kind of leaves you to die, and then you catch back up with him, and he pulls a gun on you, and it's in that in the tomb where you fight what's her name, Lisa Trevor, for the final time. Okay. And it's like the tomb of her father or her brother. I can't remember who exactly it is. But you have to like push those giant. I assume you had the same fight where you have to push the things off the platform, the chains on the tomb.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in that scene, Barry pulls a gun on you. He pulls his gun on you, and then you have a choice to trust him or not trust him. Basically, like give him his gun back or not. And I chose not to. And then the Lisa Trevor just like knocks him off the fucking platform, and you never see him again.
Oh Jesus, dude! In my playthrough, we do that fight on the platform where you push the 4 blocks off or whatever, and Wesker is there. It's Wesker and Chris, and then Wesker's like, "I'm gonna go investigate further" or whatever, and then I just keep playing the game as Chris. And then Wesker attacks you in the lab where
with the tyrant,
the tyrant, and he gets killed by the tyrant.
That's the same. Yeah, that's the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the game, like I got away just as Chris, and I was kind of pissed off, and I know I could have just loaded an old save, but it was the point. It was like, I don't know if you're like this, dude, but like I hate when I get to a hallway in a video game and I'm like, fuck, left or right, and then I hate going away and then triggering something where I can't go back.
Right. Yeah.
And always wondering what was down that other hallway.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
most of the time it's just like a single room or something. They never let
yeah,
you play past. I mean, with the exception of I guess not fucking rescuing the other main character.
yeah, which like sure maybe it said it in some of the clues, like in some of the notes, but I assumed that the reason I was struggling to get these 3 CD keys to unlock these 3 locks to unlock this door was because that was the way out. Like that's what I thought.
Sure,
And so I
it
was like, well,
definitely
that's
seemed that way, right? Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So I
and
was like,
that's
well,
why
that's
I
probably the
didn't
end of the
initially
game.
go there. Yeah, right away I didn't go there.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, I'm going to explore everything else. Then I'll go to like what's presumably the end game. And then it
Yeah,
turns out the end game was upstairs and Jill was behind this. And I was like, because like, yeah, of course I would have saved Jill.
but
Like,
didn't you
fuck.
when you fight the oh, you know what? Is it the jail key? Is it on Wesker's body? Because you
Um,
get it after that tyrant fight, but I feel like I almost missed something. I didn't investigate Wesker's body, and when you do, it's like, oh, he's holding something or whatever, and it's like the jail key. And then because I
oh,
visited the cell, I was like, oh, I got to go back and get it. So I think that might have been your clue, is if you didn't investigate. I could be wrong, but that's how I'm remembering it.
no,
Is
you might be right. Oh,
if you
fuck
didn't
sakes.
investigate that body, you wouldn't know that there was something to unlock, like there was in a room.
I felt like such a dumb because I'm like watching the ending and I was just like, it's not that it was bad, but I was like, that's how I'm not one of those people that needs to play a game 5 times to like see all the
Sure.
endings. I'm like, I'll play it
Yeah.
once and then I'll watch the other endings on YouTube.
Yeah.
Silent Hill, looking at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll just watch the other endings. And so I finished the game and then I look up the endings and I was like, I felt like I played pretty honorably. I played hard. I fucking saved the world. We're good here. And then it turned out like, oh no, that was the bad ending. You left Jill to die and all this kind of shit. I was like, well, what the fuck? And I was fuck. I wasn't mad because but again, it gives you a reason to go back. Like, especially if you're playing it without the internet or without YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
It gives you a reason to go back, which I'm a big fan of.
Mhm.
And I guess the whole point that we've been making for the last 20 minutes is it's very impressive that they don't that the 2 playthroughs weren't mailed in. Like
Yeah, for
it's
sure,
two
absolutely.
very it's the same and different at the same time, you know.
Yeah.
Uh one thing you and I were talking about a little bit off air that I kind of want to get your thoughts on is I really like I mean Resident Evil 2 is my favorite of the OG trilogy because I love the police
Mhm.
station. But I really like the mansion. I feel like the mansion is almost a character in the game. And by the time you're done this game, because I do think one thing to put out there to people that have never played this is that, like, be warned, there's a lot of backtracking. Like, it's a puzzle. There's a
Yeah.
lot of backtracking. Not just, oh, now I have a new key that could open new doors, but the constant running back to one of your safe rooms to use the inventory boxes and that kind of stuff, right? It doesn't bother me at all, but that's part of the game.
Yeah.
But by the time you're done this game, like, you know that mansion like the back of your fucking hand. And I like it because of that. Where you're not are you pro mansion?
No, so I understand, like, mansion is it's classic Resident Evil, like you said, it's almost a character in and of itself. It's the
Mm.
beloved trope of the series. I don't care for the mansion. I liked everything else. Every other place I was outside of the mansion was my favorite part of the game. Specifically the courtyard. I like the courtyard areas. Even like the aqua ring and stuff where you fight like the sharks, and the altar, the underground stuff, like all of that I enjoyed more than being in the mansion. I found I was very frustrated because, like you said, the mansion. I was just struggled to learn the mansion layout for some reason. I just couldn't visualize where things were. It's certain spots I could, but there were certain spots where I'm like, okay, I have to go back to this thing. How the fuck do I get back there? And there were more than one ways to get to some things where I found I went the long way around to find out there was a door I could have taken much sooner. There was at one point I went, I think it was when you get either the last, it's like the helmet key or the shield key. It's like one of the last keys you get, and
Yeah.
you get the emblem that lets you go into the room, and you literally had to go down the hall and to the next door. And I ended up going backwards the other way, and I went through the whole fucking mansion trying to find where to go, only to end up back in that hallway to find out it was right there. And that's my fault, but it was frustrating that I couldn't visualize where I needed to go with that next piece well enough. And I think that's just my stupid brain. But I think that's part of why I like Resident Evil 3 so much, is because there's such a variety of places to go. I felt like with the downtown, I just like that it's almost linear in its pathway, that you just kind of investigate everything and move forward through it. And there's just more like linear environments like that, while still maintaining like the police station and stuff like that, where you can explore the rooms. But the mansion is such a huge part of Resident Evil 1, and I just didn't care for it. I think it's always just been like my blind spot of the series.
See, that's interesting because I guess it's just different perspective because I found that the polar opposite. Like in 3, I loved the idea that you're in Raccoon City and everything has gone to shit and like the streets are destroyed and there's zombies everywhere and stuff. But I could never get a sense of like, I felt like I was overwhelmed because like, even though it is pretty linear, I was like, fuck, so do I want to go down this alley or this alley or where do I, whereas I was like the Resident Evil, like I like being indoors where I can do like a clean sweep of the mansion. And I'm like, I've done every room, I've done everything. You know what I mean? So I guess it's just it's a personal preference catch-up catsup thing.
Yeah.
Because I did, dude, I'm embarrassed. So I played this on a flight. I played about 8 hours of this on planes. And I'm embarrassed of the amount of time I spent playing Resident Evil Remake before I finally realized that I could bring the map up faster than like going into my inventory system, going up the map, clicking map. And I was just, I was getting so irritated with that. And then finally I realized that it was just like a shortcut. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake.
We talked about, actually, it's funny you touch on that, the control aspect of the game. I meant to bring this up earlier. That was one thing I wish was flipped in the controls, is the inventory and the map function. I kept meaning to go to the map and I kept going to my inventory, and that's just probably just a skill issue. But I wish those two buttons had been switched. I would have gotten my map much easier than
I find that like when I'm playing multiple games of the same genre at once, the muscle memory from one bleeds into the other, and it screws me up if they're different.
Yeah.
And I was flipping between OG Resident Evil 3 and Resident Evil 1 Remake, and the controls are similar but different, and I was getting so irritated at my inability to fucking wrap my head around both sets of controls. One thing I wanted to shout out too from the map, I can't remember because I haven't played the OG one in years. I can't remember if the OG one did this, but I love that the map tells you when you're done in a room.
Yeah, I feel like that's design from the first game.
I think it is too, and it's almost necessary. It's almost necessary because even though this game looks a lot better than the OG game, so much of these classic games like these, Dino Crisis, Silent Hill, so much of them is when you find a new room, it's just doing a walk around the perimeter, mashing A.
Yeah.
Not knowing what you can interact with,
Right. Yeah.
And I would have missed some really valuable shit had it not told me there's still something in there that I couldn't find. You know what I mean? So
yeah, like an entire character at the end of the game.
Fuck. Thanks a lot, Map. Where were you on that one? Fucking. It reminded me. I was thinking of when. Do you remember the Treehouse of Horror of The Simpsons where Burnsy is the vampire? And there's all the glowing signs like saying like coffin room or whatever, the super fun happy slide. And I just was like, where the fuck was that for me in this one? Why didn't you even be like storage for prisoners down here or whatever the fuck?
Maybe I should go investigate the jail cell before leaving the entire
why
building.
didn't you label the jail cell? God damn it. And another thing that I'm embarrassed of, everyone that's played Resident Evil knows when you find items, one of the first things you want to do is examine the item, spin it around because there's shit hidden in it.
Mm-hmm.
I had like 5 first aid kits at the end of the game and could not figure out how to open them. And I just
that's funny.
Yeah. I just assumed that I was like, I was like, maybe Jill's the only one that can use them. And then finally I was like,
enough to open this.
Yeah. Well, I was right at he already can't mix fucking chemicals. So
yeah, he's like, I don't know nothing about this health stuff.
Yeah. Well, he can't read. He doesn't know what the box says. He's like, this could be a bomb. I can't. So I had like my storage box was like full of these fucking first aid kits and I was out of healing items. And finally I Googled it and I'm like, dude, like, can Chris open these fucking things? And they were like, yeah, you just examine it. And I must have just not had it faced the right way when I hit the button.
Right.
Fuck's sake. So then I had to spend like 5 minutes finding a safe room and going through all my fucking first aid kits. I had like 3 new first aid sprays. At that point I was golden, but I was like, man, I really did this the hard way. Fuck me.
That's so good.
Oh, God damn it. Stupid fucking game. But other than that, though,
I like this version of Chris in your playthrough where he's a bumbling idiot that can't, you can't he can't fucking like no spatial awareness or any like object permanence.
He's just a sitcom character, and fucking Jill is sitting in this
way through.
Yeah, Jill's sitting in this cell, just knowing she's fucked because she's like, Chris is never gonna find his way in here. Yeah. Like I'm
just listening to like the helicopter, like the rocket launcher going off on the roof, being like, "Well, I guess I'm fucked. He's here forever."
Self-destruct initiated, and Jill's just like, "Oh, fucking course, yeah."
Resident Evil 3 is just Jill's fever dream while she's inside the sewer or inside the jail cell. Yeah. It's just all playing out before she dies.
Oh fuck! I thought of another Simpsons reference, and now I lost my train of thought. But it reminded me of something else from The Simpsons. It doesn't matter. Anyway, the point is, Chris is a dumbass. But no, I loved it. I love this game. I love the graphics. I like the way it played. I still every time I play Resident Evil 1, be it the remake or the original version, I just grow more appreciation for this game because, like, I'll be honest with you, Patrick. Like, I love this series, but as soon as you hit 4, maybe I need to replay 4 now that I just did a replay of the OGs. But like, I have no idea. Like, I know the story of 4, but I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Like, by 8, I'm like, I don't even know how this ties into Resident Evil anymore. I have no fucking idea. But playing this initial trilogy, they work so well together, like 1, 2, and 3. And playing 1 and then playing 3 right afterwards, like, it really it's a really cool, like, Umbrella as an antagonist, like as a villain, is such a cool fucking villain because it doesn't seem that far-fetched, does it? Like, maybe nuking a city seems a little bit far-fetched, maybe, when they could just put a big dome over it or something. But I love the idea that, like, you're just going to this mansion and you're like, why the fuck are we here? And then it turns out the mansion is just a cover for all these horrible experiments. And then you're uncovering this, like, I know we're talking about the original game kind of when I say this, but I have so much, like, what a fucking leap off point for a franchise Resident Evil is. All right, everybody. I am very proud to say that I rescued Patrick from the jail cell before we left. I learned from Chris's mistakes. It's funny because Patrick was like, I can hear you, but it doesn't sound like you can hear me, I guess. And I was just going on and I was like, fuck, Patrick, where the fuck are you? Jump in on this, man. I'm just
what a nightmare it was for me just to have to listen to you talk for that time. I was like talking and responding. I was like, what a fucking asshole. He's just talking over me. I'm like, obviously he's on a roll.
No, I just didn't want any dead air. I was like, I've already sucked this game to completion and now I'm just not stopping because I'm like, where are you? Fucking tap me on the shoulder and say that's enough, please. Fuck me. Anyway, where are you? I was just talking about how great this game is. Where are you? Go ahead, please.
It's great. Yeah, it's really good. I think, I think I mentioned it. Like, Resident Evil 1 was always kind of a blind spot for me in this series. I didn't start with 1. I was introduced during 2, and then 3 is where I kind of really fell in love with the series and played forward from there. So this was my kind of first. I've played 1. I've gone back and tried some of it, but I never really got all the way through it. So this was my first real kind of experience of the story, and like, I understand, like, totally understand how the franchise jumped off from this point, because it's so well done, and it's a really good game. It's fantastic. I mean, like, we've just been talking nonstop good things about it. It's great.
Yeah, I agree. In some ways, I would argue that, like, because I know every time I do an episode, I have people being like, man, I'm going to try out this game after listening to the episode. And I really feel like the Resident Evil 1, specifically the original PlayStation version, but even this remake version, are kind of like Super Mario Bros. To, like, Resident Evil 2, Super Mario Brothers 3, and Resident Evil 4, Super Mario World, and stuff like that. Like, this was
Right.
it walked so that Resident Evil could run, right? There's 2 things I wanted to ask you before we score this thing and wrap it up. One, if someone came to you and was like, Patrick, I've never played Resident Evil, I want to get into the series. Should I start with Resident Evil 1? Where should I start? What would you say?
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, it's such a generational leap, I feel like, at this point, because you're talking about going back to a franchise that has these strange controls that they kind of almost invented, where there hasn't really been a game that's utilized that. So if you're not familiar with it, that becomes a huge point to dissuade somebody from playing through these games, and it does make it very difficult. So
Yeah.
it would almost be like, this would be a great way to introduce somebody. Is it's a modern, it looks like a modern game, like you said. Like, if someone didn't tell you it was a GameCube game, you'd have no idea that it wasn't just like basically a current remake kind of thing. It feels like in that vein. The obvious answer feels like Resident Evil 2 remake, Resident Evil 3 remake. I mean, Resident Evil 2 remake is probably the place to start. Resident Evil 4 is a good place. So it all depends, I guess. Like, I would say if someone was of an older generation that has played or was there with the PlayStation, start from 1, move forward that way. If you're familiar with how every game had its own control scheme and stuff, you're kind of aware of how to adapt to those things. But someone that's maybe approaching it from a younger perspective, maybe this would be a great place to kind of introduce you to the series and the franchise and everything.
Yeah, it's tough because like I was saying, my first one was 4, and then I tried this one, and I was like, "What the fuck is this? It's so slow. It's not an action game like 4 is. Like it's slow and the controls are weird."
Yeah, I mean
And
it's survival horror, right? That's
yeah, and
the
so I'm
whole
like,
genre. It's not a horror, an action horror game, or
yeah. So in my head, I'm like, I tried it and didn't like it at first. So I'm like, if I was to recommend this to someone to start, would they run into that problem where they're like, I don't get it. I don't like the way it plays. I can't. Because like it feels like a real shame, even though I have no idea how the fuck Resident Evil 8 ties into Resident Evil 1. I have no fucking idea. I will say that like it does seem like a shame to start the series without and not start it at one. I wouldn't say Resident Evil 0. That game, that's the Phantom Menace of Resident Evil. Ignore that one.
right.
I don't know if I could recommend starting with one because of the controls, even though I think that's where people should start. You're right. If I was going to recommend it, I would say start with Resident Evil 1 Remake. If not, or if you find the controls to Resident Evil 1 Remake off-putting, then I would say go to Resident Evil 2 Remake, and you're good from there, and you can move forward the rest.
Yeah. Prior to that coming out, I would say this point, but I think, yeah, I mean, from just pure, like, if you're going to fall in love nowadays as a modern gamer with the franchise, I feel like that's going to be the game that's going to spark your love for the series, Remake 2. And and then you can explore from there.
Yeah. And that leads into my other question. We've got Resident Evil 2 Remake, Resident Evil 3 Remake, Resident Evil 4 Remake, which was completely unnecessary, but still spectacular.
Yeah.
I personally would like to see Resident Evil Code Veronica get the 2, 3,
Absolutely.
4 remake
Yeah.
treatment.
I love that game. Yeah.
Yeah. And it could use it. Like, that'd be great. Would you, if you were Capcom, would you spend the resources remaking one again, like 2, 3 Remake? Because if they announced that, I would be like, I would have rather you guys did Code Veronica. But also, I would be like, man, I would love to play a modernized Resident Evil 1.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean,
like, can you remake a game twice? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, is there enough? I feel like we would buy it regardless, you know? Like, I feel like there's enough
100%
in that franchise that people are just going to go, yeah, like, absolutely. I mean, you did the other two. Why not make the first one?
I feel like it would sell. Like, Resident Evil 2 Remake, 3 Remake. Everyone shit on Resident Evil 3 Remake for being so short, and it still sold.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, yeah.
a full-blown remake of 1 would sell.
I believe so. Yeah, if they did it in the style of 2, where they really, like, you know, really stuck with it and didn't just kind of phone it in like they did with, I don't want to say that what they did with 3. I really enjoyed the 3 remake, but it definitely did, it diverted a lot from the original game. And
it felt rushed. It felt very rushed.
Yeah, it felt like, hey, you idiots love this one, you're gonna love this next shit. Like, it's just, I mean, it feels like an expansion to Resident Evil 2 is how I felt about it, like DLC.
Agreed.
Like, it's just like, hey, it's the same engine, same gameplay. If you like that game, it's just more of that, which was awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
But it didn't feel like a standalone on its own. Like when they did Resident Evil 4, the remake is phenomenal, even though it was unnecessary. It was great. It was like, you could tell they dedicated a lot of time and attention to basically rebuilding that game.
Yeah.
So I think if they approach it that way, it would absolutely sell. I would love to see Code Veronica, but I mean, I don't think that's as popular of a title or as well known. It doesn't come up in the conversation often. I don't think it's ever had a outside of like the PlayStation, because it was originally a Dreamcast game, and then they ported it to the PlayStation 2, and I think that's right. Is considered like its remaster kind of thing. Like, not remaster, but they did fix some things and added some stuff. That's the version I'm familiar with, so I would love to see that redone, because I mean, it almost feels like a blank slate where it's not as well known. You could just make a crazy game out of it. Yeah,
like, I'm kind of conflicted today because, like, based on their last 10 years of history with, like, we know Resident Evil 9 is around the corner, but other than that, based on what they've been doing, like, it seems like Resident Evil 5 is almost on tap for an update, even though it doesn't really need one. 4 didn't need one, and it was awesome. So maybe 5 gets one. But I agree with you.
I
I'm
don't
like,
see 5 having the impact that 4 did, where it would need it. I mean, it basically feels like a modern title.
Agreed. And that's where I'm like, so then if you're like, Adam, you're in charge, we can remake one Resident Evil game. I'm like, is it 0? Is it Code Veronica, or is it 1? Because I
There's no way
think it
it's
would be
0.
awesome for 1 to be as playable as 2, 3, and 4 are to modern audiences, because everyone can see where the series starts. I'm going to be doing a Resident Evil ranking episode pretty soon. And I'm like, not to spoil anything, like this Resident Evil 1 remake doesn't crack my top 3, but it's just outside of it. I'm like, I don't need any more Resident Evil 1. Like, do it to 0 or Code Veronica, even though I would love to see 1 get this treatment. This is such a competent, well-made. Like, listen, are you a Last of Us fan?
I played the first one. Yeah, I do enjoy like the franchise overall. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. Like, I'm a huge Last of Us fan, and the running joke is that like every console, Naughty Dog finds a way to re-release Last of Us Part 1, right? Like it's Last of Us Remastered, Last of Us Part 1 Remastered, Last of Us Part 1 Extreme. Like, it's just, they just keep finding ways to fucking resell this game. And I would argue that like this is not a better game than The Last of Us, but like this justified, if you bought Resident Evil 1 on your PS1 and then this came out, this justified buying it again. You know, it's like,
absolutely.
This is like a new experience. This is fantastic.
This was, I mean, this, I like they said, the GameCube was a blind spot for me, but I mean, this would have been a fantastic thing to have on the GameCube, like a really like system justifying like this in Resident Evil 4, you know, that's enough to make anybody happy that they have that console on top of all the other great games that it had. But like, in terms of a fan of this kind of stuff, like that's a great exclusive to have at the time.
100%. I can't believe it took me so long to get to this one. Like, again, that initial experience turned me off and I never came back. And now that I finally played it, I knew I would like it because I like Resident Evil. I didn't realize I would love it. Like, I feel like this could jump onto like my annual playthroughs list. I think it's so
cool.
good.
Yeah.
Did we miss anything? Or are you ready to score this thing? It's great. It's a good game.
I think I'm ready.
We're good. All right. I don't know. Came out in 2002. We could do that. Let's do that. Yeah. Came out in 2002. So, the floor is yours, my guest.
What are we scoring this out of 2002?
Yeah.
Holy fuck. That's a, like,
I'll give it like 1900. Like I'd give it like a 9 out of 10. This is a good fucking game. Like,
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Like, the only criticism I could see realistically is tank controls can be annoying. And if you don't like them, you may not like this.
Yeah. I feel like that. I feel like at this point though, it should be kind of, it's known that that's how it plays. Like that's how it goes.
Agreed.
You know,
Agreed.
like,
yeah.
We understand that was the Resident Evil formula, and it does offer you an alternative control scheme to modernize it. So in that sense, I mean, like, the tank control shouldn't really be an issue if that's the issue. So I think that stands.
I just worry that if someone played Resident Evil 2 Remake first, and then played 3 Remake, and then played 4 Remake or whatever, and then was like, man, I got to see where this started, this one might feel a little bit weird.
Sure, but
even
that's
with
like
the modern
saying,
controls.
like, if someone started with, Mario Odyssey and played Mario 1, they'd be like, what the fuck is this? Right?
But
like,
that's why, like, when someone asks me where to start with Mario, I always say Super Mario World.
Sure.
I'm like, and then if you want to work backwards, go ahead. And that's why I'm like, do you recommend it? Like, I think it's fantastic. I give it 1900 out of 2000. I think it's fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
I love our scoring systems. What do you got for a score?
Yeah, I'll agree with that. 1900. Yeah.
Beautiful. It's a good fucking game, man. If you're listening, dude, this game goes on sale all the time for pennies on the dollar. It's on literally everything. Highly, highly recommend giving it a chance. And if you're unsure, wait for it to go on sale. You can get it for like $6, but $6 full, dude, $20 for this game is a steal, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I would pay that. Yeah.
If you can get it for like $6, fucking forget about it. No chance.
Yeah. I mean, on Steam, it's $30 normal, but I mean, Steam prices are non-existent there. That goes on sale constantly. But yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone? I'm still new to Steam, but does anyone outside of day one big purchases? Does anyone pay full price for a Steam game? Like their sales are all the time, and their sales are insane.
Yeah,
I don't know how you guys can afford it.
But other than people that are creating part of the problem, Adam.
Yes, I'm proud to be part of the problem. That's what Adam, part of the problem. Blank, bring it on. I'll fucking bring this industry down all by myself. God damn it, Patrick. What do you got going on outside of fighting zombies?
Yeah, so we're working on a new Discount Line Safari album right now. We're deep in the woods of writing songs. We got a good handful, so we're hoping to have it out early next year. So kind of keep an eye on that. You can follow on our Bandcamp page. Kind of taking a break from social media, but I'm sure we'll start back up with stuff to announce that. And it's going to be, we're really looking forward to that. Really excited. It's we're doing some really cool stuff with that. So yeah.
Hell yeah. Still the greatest name in the history of music. Like, Discount Line Safari fucking will never not put a smile on my face when I hear it. It's fucking sick. There'll be a link in the description of this podcast too. So check it out. Tell them Remember the Game sent you. Buddy, thank you for doing this. Thank you for taking time out of your Sunday morning to talk 20-year-old video games with me. I appreciate it. And we got to find you and I always go between Game Boy and horror. So we'll find a Game Boy game to do next. We'll do a more uplifting Game Boy game. Sure. Yeah. We'll talk about that off air though. I don't want to spoil anything. I want these people to fucking suffer. So you guys don't get to know what we're talking about. But we'll figure it out. Patrick, thanks for doing this, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
That is going to do it for this week's episode. Patrick, thank you so much for giving me a call and talking some Resident Evil Remake. And every single one of you nerds listening to this, whether it was your first Remember the Game, your 352nd, maybe your 295th, whatever the fuck, thank you. Thank you so much for listening. I know there's a ton of retro gaming shows out there, and that every week we manage to sucker some of you into listening to ours. Well, that warms my heart. I appreciate it. Check out Patrick's music. I love that name so much. Discount Line Safari is the greatest name in the history of bands. You can find that in the description of this podcast, presuming I could find the link, which I probably could. And I don't know. Support us on Patreon. If you want more of these, I'll take your money. It's only a couple of bucks. $3. It's all it's going to take to get you started. And in exchange for $3, you get almost 1,000 ad-free podcasts with new ones every week. You guys know the blurb. I'm not going to do it again. More importantly, don't forget, November 7th and November 8th, our 6th annual Extra Life charity stream, 24 hours. I'll be playing video games, chatting with you. We'll be raising money for the kids. We'll be giving away prizes. It's going to be a good fucking time. More information. I don't know how much more information there is coming. Like, I'll get a link up. I haven't decided if I'm going to post an actual schedule for it this year or if I'm just going to I know we're going to start with Super Mario Brothers on Friday morning, as we always do. And Mark McHugh has agreed to come in and play a Super Mario World run with me at the end of Saturday, as we always do, to wrap it up. I don't know what we're going to do for that 20 or so hours in the middle. I don't know. Part of me thinks I should set a schedule. Part of me would rather just be like, this is what I feel like playing. This is what I'm going to play. But I'll figure that out. You'll know by November 7th, okay? I'm going to thank some patrons, and then I'm going to leave. Thank you all so much for listening. I appreciate it. If you are a patron, come back tomorrow for my Resident Evil 3 Remake review. Friday, I'll be ranking my 10 best comedy gigs of all time. And next week, we're back with a whole nother slab of podcast, assuming, if nothing goes wrong, the winner of our Scary Game Patreon poll that I wanted to get in the week of Halloween, Alan Wake, my buddy Bradley McHugh, should be joining me to talk about that one. Should be a gooder, okay? Thanks, everybody. I'll talk to you on the next one. Leave us a good review if you liked it. I don't know what to do, but I'm supposed to ask for them. Cheers so long. Goodbye. Remember the Game is brought to you by our Patreons. I couldn't puke up all the content I churn out every week without all of your support. The following people are the senior executive vice president level or higher at patreon.com/rememberthegame. And as such, I'm contractually obligated to thank them by saying their names as quickly as I can. So we're just going to kick it old school this week and go oldest to newest. A huge thank you to Remember the Game Hall of Famer, Slick Motherfucking Rick, Makeshift Mellow Magic Money, Sharonic, J Nasty 15, Jork King Keegs, Dissect That Dan, Doug Dorn, Chris Fleury, Andrew Wright, Jordan, Eldest Millennial, Little Bunny Fufu 89, Angry Ticks, Dave Thompson, No One Cares, Scott Brooks, Aaron Lawson, JSK Fusick, A-Town Morgan, Zane Donovan, Ryan Kinchin, Mike Maloney, G9PSX, Mercury 869, Wolfgang, Darren, Andy Hudson, Doogie, easy for me to say, Jesus Christ. Wolf Magic 21, Johnny from Virginia, Squints, Dean Donian, Titan 420, Jeff Bergeron, Randy Barrage, Just a Fish, Paul Sveen, Holmes, Zach Shepard, Captain Black, Silver, 333, Chugger 22, Elijah Burns, It's That Nerd, James, Madam Nudsitch, DBXJ, Jameer Williams, Steve Dalk, Standard Ass Brian, Dude, Where's My Game, Mizuru, Juris Dr. Mario, Tyler, Phil Lencher, Joe the Sandman, Jake Carter, Laces Out, Dan, Growlywog, Beaver Boy, Thomas Smith, Leroy Westrich, Dark Squall, Rush's Dog Walker, Stud Still Smash, Matt Babanu, Gabe, Fuzzy99, Decoy Man, a dude named Adam, Why the Surgeon Who's Not a Surgeon, Rowe, Blaine the Hoagie Man, Scary Terry, Storm Beagle, Archangel Otaku, Earl, Hagel, Waffle Eye, Plays Drifter, Timothy, Oroku, Sandy's Gardner. Coda Blazes Pants Have No Ash, General Fury, I'm the Very Model of a Modern Major General, Max Lagroom, James Juan Francesco, John of the Adult Children Podcast, Jokes About Him, K, Sam Carpenter, Donnie the Dude, Walter, Sleeper, Hit, Squeak Nuts, Isaias, Hits Meals, Timmy the Exuberant Turtle, Christian Gabriel, Maverick Marty, Musty Beetle, Graham Kennedy, Timothy Zabriskie, My Left Nut, Beef Tingleberry, Quiet Place Queen, Christopher Bridge, Samatos, Big the Cat, Tadpole, T-Bear 87, Maverick, Brendan DeZeba, Kia Pup, Monstrous D Boner, AB Killen Works for Me, Ted Explosion, Ryan Perry, Alex R, please refrain from tasting the knob, Scotty J, Just Car Prank, Zombie Exy, Bartman Forever, Dark Skywalter, Postman, Nick Creature, Adam Arnett, The Big Deal. Ryan 4664, Kevin Monroe, Can't Destroy Her, Pee Wee Squitters, Nordak, Leroy Jenkins, Lord Palmerston, Beers of War, Because 19, Infinity Rage, Marcus Mendoza, Lord Long Rob von Hugendorf II, Roger Staubach's Pool Cleaner, Lucas Shaman, Frosty Parrot Sour, Go Face, Faded Sufferance. Chris Hill isn't scared. That could be anyone's ass. Beat Money, Penguin Milk, Fallen Snow, Kiku, The Supreme Chozo, Rizzo, You Son of a Bitch, Why? Tell Me Why? E-Man, Trucker, Mark Sneed, Shoeboxers, Adam Blake, still isn't reviewed Mario Galaxy, Jake Callahan, Robbie Air, Brian Richmond, Blue Shell Discharge, Bula, Mad Zeus, Too Much Karma, Mopey 36, Cesar, Fill Up My Mouth with Farts, Slicker Like Luigi, Cody Thompson, JR Bob Dobbs, Bob Sacamano, Chaz Hammond, Mr. Jabroni, Big Daddy Randall out of Yellow, Ryan Whitcomb, Justin Tate, my last username sucked, Thrill Ho, Toby OP, Scotty McGee, Alex McIntyre, Spider Cat, Eric Hopewell, Darbles, generic name 238, Texas, David Schroeder, Moncal, Diablo Spartan, Justin Blair, McCracken, Wilco, VOS Rager, Brother Retro, Conebread, Ocarina of Tim Rocks, Daniel Cook, Super Science, Safarioth, Savage Boosh, Only Sean, The Only Sean, The Grim Patron, MacGyver 88, Travis Sanders, Lord Salazar, Flater Flav, Erotic Onion Ring, Captain Asbury Juice, Doogie Bowser MD, Shut Up, Topher Love, Thunder Leaps, Legendberry, Jinxie 425, Akira's Network, Horror Wars Podcast, Jeff Leopard, Game Boy Ganon, Fancy Stallbot Dirt, Streaming Wooly, Botfucker, Mikey Hag, Shane's World, Devin Collins, Cannon Fodder Games, Trooper Galactus, Exotic Chaotic, Just James, Spooky Dookie, Profound, Frank Preeves, The Okayest of Muffins, Landed Turquoise, Siegfried, Tyler Patchell, Handsome, Major, Angus McDongle, Esquire, Raph is my favorite turtle, not Donnie. Last breath. Lindsay Lee, Jonathan Breyer, Redline Arrow, Jones, George Swan, King Tiki Tiki, The $100 Kid, Ted Michaels, Chris Nethercutt, Athena, Davis, Feith. How did I fuck up the second last one? God damn it. Blake Wise. Oh, boy. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cheers. So long. Goodbye.